people know how to kind of push his buttons. This will make you look weak to your political base. This will, So I think that in writing the story, I'm hoping to, if he's reelected, to inoculate him a little bit, so that he's not that easy to manipulate, and to appeal to, maybe some of his insecurities and some of his predilections.
Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, the gentleman you just heard from, served as the National Security Advisor in the Trump administration for about a year. And it turns out he just published a book in which he kind of trashes Trump's leadership and his foreign policy. Now, I just want to get this off my chest before I continue with what he had to say about Trump and what he was like in the Oval Office. H.R. McMaster is a neocon. He did not like the fact that Donald Trump wanted to pull American troops out of Afghanistan. In fact, he wanted the United States to have a deeper commitment, as he likes to put it, in Afghanistan. And so that disagreement on foreign policy, I'm sure, plays a big role in his disdain for Trump. But nonetheless, in his book, he basically paints Trump as this incredibly insecure, easily manipulated individual who's constantly seeking validation from those around him. So I'm going to give you his quotes in just a moment, but before I do, Cenk, any initial thoughts?
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
You share your disdain for McMaster, and he didn't write the book to inoculate Trump against taking bad advice. That's absurd. First of all, Trump's not going to read your book, and you know it. He wouldn't read any book. He can't read past the page, besides which he hates you. Secondly, you also tried to manipulate him when you were in office.
Yes.
You tried to manipulate him to stay in Afghanistan, starting bigger wars, etc. So please spare me. Having said that, these type of people, they usually lie in the context of war and press releases about war, etc. The anecdotes he's putting in there, I would be shocked if he was lying about them. And they generally fit the exact same mold as everyone who's ever worked with Trump, which is he's a frickin' disaster. The details are upcoming.
Yeah, the thing that adds some merit to what he's alleging here is the fact that this is a very similar narrative that we heard from other former Trump administration officials. So let's get to it. McMaster describes meetings in the Oval Office as exercises in competitive sycophancy, during which Trump's advisors would flatter the president by saying stuff like, "Your instincts are always right," or "No one has ever been treated so badly by the press." Look,
that's so sad.
It is sad. It is sad. But how many yes men has Biden been surrounded with in regard to the ongoing atrocities carried out by Israel in Gaza?
Not just that, on staying in the election.
Staying in the race?
Yeah.
Exactly. That is a great point. Thank you for bringing that up.
So look, guys, I'm not worried about the ego and the deep sense of aggrievement. Those are very given for Donald Trump, and they're through the roof. But to Anna's point, Joe Biden's ego was so large that even as his own advisors thought he had a near zero chance of winning, he was like, "No, I'm the only one who could beat Trump. I need 2 terms to be his third." I mean, gigantic ego, right? And who did he surround himself with? A bunch of ass kissers.
Yep.
I mean, there was 1 or 2 guys there that took outside opinions, but the rest of them were all in a bubble going, "Oh, you're the best, sir. You're the only one who could beat Trump, sir." Yeah. So yeah. That's called Washington, D.C. So don't tell me Trump's the only one doing it. Almost the entire town is doing it.
Okay, this is my favorite part of McMaster's allegations. Meanwhile, Trump would say outlandish things like, "Why don't we just bomb the drugs?" No, I love this. Like any issue. "Oh, there's a hurricane coming? Why don't we just bomb the hurricane?" Yeah. "Oh, we're having problems with opioid and fentanyl addiction here in the United States, and the drugs are coming in from the southern border. Why don't we just bomb the drugs in Mexico?" Yeah. Like, what's the problem?
No, okay, so there's 2 things here, right? One is, to Anna's point, his incredibly simplistic way of thinking about things. He asked if we could bomb a hurricane, and they had to explain to him patiently, like the hurricane would spread the radiation to the entire eastern seaboard, and it was literally the worst idea anybody had ever thought of, okay? And it's the entire administration was an episode of Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? And so, but I will do a weird defense of his bombing Mexico idea.
What?
Okay.
I mean, it depends. If there's like a drug factory that's like the center of the issue, but that's not the problem.
No, you can't even do it then.
Materials are coming from China.
No, I'm just going to point out hypocrisy. Okay. No, there's no way. You can't bomb Mexico. That's nuts. They're our neighbor. They're our #1 trading partner. They're one of our top allies. So the defense is the hypocrisy point, which is, like, if I'm Trump and I'm the 5th grader and I go, what do you mean we can't bomb Mexico? They say, well, sir, they're a sovereign country. You can't bomb sovereign countries. Trump could say, why? Israel does it all the time. They just bombed 3 capitals right next to them: Damascus, Beirut, and Tehran. Why can't we do it? No, sir, that's a special exemption. Israel can bomb anyone they like. But wait, why? Okay, and then
they have a right to defend themselves. Duh.
Right. But then Trump would say, what? Mexico's, in his mind, bringing in drugs. Why don't I have a right to defend myself? Okay, and then if Trump continues in this fun conversation, and then he says, wait a minute, it's not just Israel. We bomb any country we like. We bomb Yemen, Somalia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Iran. We can bomb anyone we like. Why can't we bomb Mexico? Then they have to say, sir, those are Muslim countries. And Americans just don't mind if you bomb Muslim countries. You can bomb them all day long. There's no downside at all. But you can't bomb non-Muslim countries. Oh, so we can't bomb Mexico? I mean, I don't think we should be bombing any of those countries, and I think bombing Mexico would be mental. But let's be honest, we break that same law all the time, 24/7, as long as they're a Muslim country.
So in addition to floating the idea of bombing the drugs, he also said, why don't we take out the whole North Korean army during one of their parades? Which, look, hold on. Obviously, that's a crazy idea. However, I will say this. The countries who do carry out those military parades, they are kind of like taking a big risk, no?
No, it's a tiny part of their arsenal. So, I mean, it looks funny, and it looks like and yeah, you could take out some portion of it, the ones you see with your own eyes, right? But the main problem with North Korea is they have their weapons dug into the mountains. The minute anything comes over the border, they're going to absolutely obliterate South Korea, including Seoul, South Korea, their capital. They could also hit Japan pretty easily.
Right.
And those weapons are dug in. And now, because of Trump, he didn't do anything. He just sent love letters back and forth. They now have nukes. At least that's the last intelligence. So taking out that parade ain't going to do anything.
So the topic of Russia is what eventually destroyed McMaster's tenure within the Trump administration. So apparently he says in his book, I wish that Trump could separate the issue of Russian election meddling from the legitimacy of his presidency. He could have said, quote, yes, they attacked the election, but Russia doesn't care who wins our elections. What they want to do is pit Americans against one another, end quote. McMaster writes that the fragility of Trump's ego and his deep sense of aggrievement would never allow him to make this kind of distinction. And again, this is what ultimately ended McMaster's time in the Trump White House. McMaster's tenure in the White House seems to have been when he publicly said that the indictment of a group of Russian intelligence officers for their interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election was incontrovertible evidence of Russian meddling in that election. And Trump tweeted in response to that statement, General McMaster forgot to say that the results of the 2016 election were not impacted or changed by the Russians. And so, Trump was sensitive about that because he felt that allegations that Russia had meddled in the election was a way of delegitimizing the fact that he won the election. So that little tiff that he had with McMaster ultimately led to McMaster's ouster.
Yeah, I'm a blunt instrument, so I'm going to say something that some of you don't like. He's just too stupid to be president. So for example, Russia, did they work with Trump in messing with the 2016 election? No, they didn't work with Trump. Okay, we had a giant investigation. It showed that they didn't work with Trump.
No collusion.
No collusion. Okay. So did they mess with the election overall? Yeah, a little bit. They did. And did they want to pit us against each other? Yes. Do they still do that? Yes. Do other countries do that? Yes. So it's easy to make that distinction. Trump can't. The minute anybody says the word Russia, and now a lot of the MAGA guys are the same now. You just mention the word Russia, they lose their minds. Russia, 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 hoax, hoax. Just calm down for a second. What part of Russian actions are we talking about? Are we talking about whether they colluded with you or whether they should have invaded Ukraine? Those are two very different things. Russia, Russia, Russia. All right, Jesus Christ, man. Can't talk to an imbecile like this. And so, in every story leads to the same conclusion. Total imbecile. Why don't we just bomb the drugs? Okay? So, look, guys, we still have conversations. He said, why don't we put disinfectant in our body? I thought it was over then. I thought it was over. Maybe I'm missing it. Do a lot of Americans think that might work?
I mean, look, I think the way that he handled COVID is exactly the reason why Biden was able to win the 2020 election. I think if COVID had not happened, Trump would have easily won re-election. So if that gives you any solace to know that the way he handled COVID hurt him electorally, there you have it.
I guess. It doesn't give me any solace that the Democrats would have lost to this imbecile if it wasn't for COVID, and they lost to him in 2016. So who's stupid now? So don't get me wrong. I got deep disdain for how both parties handle who gets to be their leader. But guys, let's ask for better. And here again, I have credibility. Back in 2000, I'm a Republican. I watched the Gore-Bush debates, and I came to the conclusion Bush is just too stupid to be president. And I voted for a Democrat for the first time in my life, voted for Al Gore. Yeah, it matters whether the president can put together a sentence. That was true of Biden. That's true of Trump. The president has to be able to make intelligent decisions. If that bothers you, sorry, okay? But Jesus, this isn't like any old job. This is the most important job in the world. And yes, we should demand that our leaders be a little bit bright.
So he also went after some of the Trump orbiters, including Steve Bannon, saying that Steve Bannon, Trump's chief strategist early in the presidency, is portrayed as a fawning court jester who played on Trump's anxiety and sense of beleaguerment with stories mainly about who was out to get him and what he could do to counterpunch. So I don't think that Steve Bannon was a particularly positive influence on Donald Trump when he was in the White House. Later, he was pushed out of the White House. And McMaster also writes that the then Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and then Secretary of Defense Jay Mattis were often at odds with Donald Trump. Tillerson and Mattis viewed Trump as dangerous and seemed to construe their roles as if Trump was an emergency and that anyone abetting him was an adversary.
That's because they were right, because they realized, oh my God, the president is a moron. His IQ is 13 points. Don't aid and abet him. Remember the conversation about Trump says, let's increase our nuclear arsenal by tenfold. It would totally bankrupt the country, right? Tillerson walks out of the meeting, his Secretary of State at the time, and he says, he's an effing moron. Don't listen to him. Of course, Trump, being the effing moron, didn't even realize they didn't listen to him. You didn't notice that we didn't 10x our nuclear arsenal, moron?
Wait a minute, that would bankrupt the country? I thought we had unlimited money. You just have the Federal Reserve print it. We send it over to Israel or whatever, foreign war we want to support.
Actually, if Israel wanted to 10x our nuclear arsenal, maybe they'd do it. Anyways,
if Israel wanted us to 10x their nuclear arsenal, we would do it.
Oh, that we would definitely do.
Let's keep it real.
I don't know why Israel doesn't ask for more. We'd give them everything. Anyway, this is not about that. Look, bottom line is, McMaster's throwing shade on Mattis and Tillerson, saying they weren't loyal to Trump, implying that he was more loyal, right? But what that tells me is McMaster's still playing the Lindsey Graham games.
Yes,
He's trying to be like, oh, Mr. President, I'm on your side. Remember, you should definitely bomb Iran, right? So
McMaster's not a good guy. Like I think it's really important to understand that. He is a neocon. He wants more foreign wars. He wants the U.S. to get mixed up in more foreign wars. So I ain't got no love for him. This is his perspective, which has been mirrored by previous former Trump administration officials. It's just an interesting point to note out and talk about. That's
all right, last thing I'll say. Other than the guys who are still with him, which is a tiny percentage of the people that worked in his administration, everyone that has left the Trump orbit says, oh my God, you guys have no idea. Total raging madman. I thought he was great when I went in. Not only did I love conservatives, I loved Trump. Then I went and worked with him. Total lunatic. Doesn't care about anyone else. Is a total sociopath. Would kill the Constitution. Would do anything to satiate his ego. And yet here we are in a tied election. Okay, that goes to the weakness of the Democrats, and it goes to this, anything is going to get normalized. Everything's going to eventually be 50-50 no matter what. I mean, this guy is totally nuts, and we can't get that clear enough to the American people where he should have no chance of winning. But 50-50, unbelievable.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.